views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host and or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of the host and or Paranormal Buzz Radio and or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is prohibited. Paranormal Buzz Radio will not be held responsible for you holding your knees, crying, and rocking in a corner in a puddle of your own urine, or being beheaded by a group of children in a cornfield. In fact, if you come across a group of children in a cornfield, we promise to make fun of you as you run away screaming in terror. Listener discretion is advised.
Ghost stories,
folklore,
psychics and mediums,
shamanism,
paranormal investigations,
haunted locations, and all that other weird shit.
You're listening to the Traveler's Moon Podcast
with the Paranomad, Chris Nielsen,
and Kelly McCarville, Moonspinner.
Here your hosts, Chris and Kelly.
Oof. Yeah, I know it was weird for me too, Shay. So what is up, everybody? Happy Wednesday night. Welcome to the Traveler's Moon Podcast. I was actually in the middle of the process of making sharing this to the old Traveler's Moon Facebook page. Unfortunately, you are stuck with just me tonight. I am just as bummed about it as everybody else. So Kelly is a little under the weather tonight. So Typhoid Mary upstairs is taking it easy. So you are stuck with just me tonight. So I'm going to apologize for that in advance. Or think like a sinus infection or something. There's no Rona in this house, thankfully. At least not right now. We were just talking. I think I was talking to Darren earlier today, and we're pretty sure we got hit with that bugaboo back in like January 2020. So we're in the clear. No Rona, just a bit of a sinus infection. So yeah, she's taking it easy. So everybody send them good vibes. She's in chat. Kelly is in chat, thankfully. So I'm here alone, but not totally alone. So welcome everybody to the Traveler's Moon Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Nielsen, and normally I'd be accompanied with Kelly McCarville, but like I said, she's a little under the weather, so we're gonna let her rest, and we're just gonna dive right into this bad boy. So this was a topic we kind of wanted to hit for a while now, and yeah, we decided to do it. We do these occasional like paranormal 101 type things over the course of the year, where we basically chat with people who might be newer investigators or thinking about getting into the paranormal field, and basically kind of give them the what's what, what you might actually expect to be doing as a paranormal investigator. So we're doing tonight 15 tips for new paranormal investigators. So throughout the course of the podcast, you guys in chat, if you have thoughts on what I have to say, feel free to throw it out. Once it's over, I also want to hear what you think I might have missed. So here we go. And this are in no particular order, but I do feel like this is a good one to start out with, and that is respect. I think that's the thing that I feel like gets missed a lot in the paranormal, not necessarily all in the paranormal field. I've met plenty of like-minded investigators over the years, but respect is the big one. People going into this, there's a lot of times where they're idolizing things. Especially most of the time when I chat with someone, it's like, hey, I've been watching the TV shows, thought about doing this thing. Big sip. And they try to, and I don't know if I'm allowed to make jabs, so I'm just going to float around this as best I can. There's this particular dude with spiky hair, a tight t-shirt that they're going to emulate, and that has a tendency to create little gaps in how this sort of thing's supposed to go. So yeah, when you go in to do a paranormal investigation, respect is probably right, like at the tippy top of the list. If you have absolutely no idea what you're doing when you go out and do a paranormal investigation, that's totally fine. I like to think that I had no idea what I was doing when I first started doing this shit. I'm willing to bet that most of the people I'm seeing in class didn't know precisely what they were doing. So if you do nothing else, be respectful. And that's not, just the spirit's location. Don't get me wrong, that is insanely important. You have to go in with that attitude of, these are, people too, and you want to show them the same respect you might show the fleshy types. But there's also a certain thing I think gets missed as well, and that's kind of a respect for the properties you go into. Holy shit, these are some amazing people keeping insanely fascinating haunted locations up, running, and alive, so to speak, and showing those locations the same respect as you would show, going into a guest's house. It's not a situation where you're going into like a haunted attraction is the first thing that comes to mind. You're not going into a haunted attraction. You're not running around like, oh, look at me, I'm all scared and shit. You're going into someone's home, and if you're doing nothing else, go in with the same respect that you would go into anybody else's home with. And this is super weird because I don't have anybody to banter with. So I keep looking to my left, and there's not even like an empty chair there, which I feel is a lot more symbolic. I'm just in the basement alone. And wait for it. Paste it. Okay. Sorry, everybody. I was sharing the post. So, number 2, and again, this is in no particular order. Number 2 on the list of top 15 tips for being a paranormal investigator. Get to know and like really, really understand your equipment. Okay, yes, Shay's here. I take that back. I'm so sorry, Shay. Shay's here in spirit. We had a weird thing with Skype. We weren't able to see each other. And, well, first of all, it ruined my day. And secondly, it does facilitate the loneliness down here in the basement. And yes, Darren, there's plenty of time for questions. So throw in as many as you're feeling. So number 2 on the list. Get to know and like really understand your equipment was something I wanted to touch on because it's something I don't think a whole lot of people grasp. They take a K2 into a location and they're just like, oh my gosh, it lit up. There has to be a ghost here. And when you're dealing with, and I'm going to just use EMF as the example for this, when you're dealing with EMF, you're not dealing with, it's definitely got to be a ghost. It flashed up to green, and I mean, it went from green to red, and now, holy shit, there's a ghost here, and it's time to interact. And that's definitely not the case. When it comes to working with EMF, you have to know, there's EMF is something that occurs all the time. It is a consistently ambient thing, and going into a location, figuring out where those hot spots are. Where, yeah, absolutely, Allison. It can be old electrical. There are so many other rational explanations. And I think that's kind of what this point was about. It was to an extent. There's a couple other points here that kind of touch on the subject. But, yeah, basically understanding how to work the equipment. So this point 3 in the 15 points would be getting to know and really understand yourself mentally, emotionally, and physically. And this is a very important thing on investigations because there are, on occasion, outside forces working in. And during the course of investigation, I feel like pretty much any investigator who's listening right now can attest to this. You got to kind of tap into yourself on occasion. You have to figure out where you're at emotionally in the investigation, that there's nothing kind of swaying you, protecting you, which kind of helped me segue into the idea of protection. And protection is one of those kind of open-ended things where it could be, if, you follow the Christian faith, bringing a cross into you, saying a prayer prior. If you're one of those more agnostic types, just kind of having that envisionment of a white light. So basically whatever you think you need for an investigation to feel protected, understanding what that is and utilizing it pretty much every time. Because, yes, protection is important, kids. There's no one here to laugh with me. Yes, I'm locked alone in the basement. This is usually where Kelly keeps me anyways. But it's just, it's good to have people to talk to. So Shay has a question in chat as, do you investigate graveyards? If so, do you think it's the people buried there or people from the past attached to the land? I'm going to go with yes. Yes has got to be the answer to that. So yeah, I think it can definitely be both. I think sometimes it can be the people buried there. I've always had this weird thought in my head, like since I started investigating, going out and actually doing graveyards, that when you pass away and you're kind of roaming around all incorporeal and shit, that you're going to visit stuff that's familiar. You're going to go to your old elementary school. You're going to go visit your own home. You're going to go to things that were familiar. And I like to think that there are few things more familiar with this than your own body. And I'll let everybody in chat take that as they will. So that being said, yeah, I definitely think it can be that. I think it'd be residual emotions of the, people that grieve there. Cemeteries and graveyards are areas of super high emotion. So I think, I definitely think that is a factor. But I also think it can be, aspects of the land attached. If you want to be like super kind of diving into this, if you were thinking of like a native burial ground, these are both extremely sacred land as is, and that's because of the spirits that reside there. Then there's also technically, people buried there. So, yeah, I do think it can be both. And preface this, Darren and I had a conversation prior to this podcast where we shared lists, and Darren's wondering, why do I think it's important to bring food and drinks to investigation? That answer is twofold. One, the drinks have caffeine, and that is almost entirely the answer. I'm never hydrated on an investigation because the amount of caffeine going through my body would likely upset most medical professionals. And food, I feel like, is important for actually keeping like a general food energy up. We get energy from food, and that's super important. For longer investigations, food is definitely a necessity as far as like, hey, I'm in here for 8 hours. It just kind of helps keep you grounded, honestly. I use food a lot when I'm feeling like I'm not quite with it. I'll go have a little something to eat. Yeah, I would make that the argument for food. Yes, gotta have snacks, caffeine. And on podcast nights, you gotta have whiskey. Just liquids and foods, and occasionally talking to dead people. That is basically the lifestyle of the paranormal investigator, aside from the constant sleep deprivation and miles upon miles on the road. Number 4. And I wasn't sure where to throw this on the list. I'm sure there's a better segue. But when a person goes into investigating, they are wanting to find ghosts. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But when a person wants to find a ghost, they're going to find a ghost. So what I mean when I say that is basically I'm going to take a picture. I'm going to go out to, we talked about graveyards already, so I'm going to go out to a graveyard, and I'm going to go and just take a ton of pictures. If I want to find a ghost in one of these pictures, my brain's going to do that eventually. And whether that's the form of something that is actually a manifestation of a spirit or a particle of dust caused by the flash, either way, that's going to happen. So number 4, be open to scrutiny. I get it. It's cool. And when you think you found something, there is this insane excitement because it's like, holy crap. I'm connecting the pieces, and I'm proving that there's something after we die. And that's a very fun and exciting and kind of sexy idea. But it's important to be open to that scrutiny, because if you're trying to prove something, if you're approaching this from someone who is of a scientific mind, which I think is somewhat necessary when it comes to investigations, you have to have room for rationale. And when you have room for rationale, you have to be open to the idea that what you think was something might not be anything, and be okay with that for the sake of actually doing justice to the field. I'm not doing anybody any favors by going out and showing people pictures of my dust and being like, holy shit, do you see all these ghosts? I think Satan's in there. Number 5, and this kind of goes with the trend of the last couple things, and that is you can never be too tedious when it comes to doing investigations. Just be thorough. Don't be satisfied with one picture. It's a big point for in spirit photography. Always take multiple pictures from the same angle. Super important with spirit photography when you're doing things like an EVP session, tagging any contamination, like I sniffled, which by the way, every time I sniffle, I'm absolutely terrified Kelly has done something horrible to me. But tagging, that sort of thing, making sure there is no room for error on your investigation. Take notes. I throw out a plug here. I make journals. If you need to write stuff down, I know a guy who can hook you up. So that is number 5 out of 15. Ladies and gentlemen, we're a third of the way there, and I need to acknowledge these lovely, lovely people in the chat. Join us for the live show. Hello, Kelly. I'm glad you're in chat. At least I'm only here alone, physically, not in spirit. And I guess Shay's here too. She's on the other end of the internet machine. I just can't see her either, which makes me so sad. So hello, Allison. Hello, Shay. Hello, Kelly. What's up, Fred? Darren, how we doing? Mama Deb's in the house. Cynthia, how you doing? How is the pupperooski? Shay has a puppy. Not Shay. Cynthia has a puppy, everybody. You should ask for pictures. How's it going, Matt? Hey, Chris Nielsen's in chat. What a douchebag. Did I get everybody? I think I got everybody. Oh, Kim, how's it going? I'm still scrolling. Scrolling. If I missed anybody, super sorry. Cynthia, yes, Chris needs a hot toddy. I'm way ahead of you on the whiskey aspect. But the tea would be nice. I might make myself a nice cup of chamomile after the show. So we're moving our way down on the list. Yes, I said Allison. Allison, I saw you. I saw you in chat, Allison, and I acknowledged you. I'm sorry if you didn't hear me. And actually, before we hit number 6, Darren had a question, which is, why is it important if you provoke, you do it tactfully before other people coming after you? So I'm going to try to decipher that. I don't know if my reading comprehension's off tonight. But it's if you provoke, why is it important that you do it tactfully before there's other people like following you the next night. And that would be because if you go in and piss somebody off, odds are they're still going to be in a bad mood. And this falls almost kind of under the category of respect. I am not a advocate for provocation in the sense that most people understand it as like, hey, come fight me in the dark, bro, in a super tight black t-shirt. I mean, don't get me wrong. I feel like, Kelly, can you agree with me? We'd get all the clicks on that. But I'm not about that life. I don't think the provocation is necessary. I don't know if it falls in the category of respectful. But that also, there's room for nuance in the definition of provocation. And so, for example, I'm actually working on a little book right now, and I was actually just thinking back to Edinburgh Manor, and there was a guy with me who was former staff, and we got a lot of good results when he's like, hey guys, here's the deal, I'm staff, I need you guys to come out of your rooms real quick and do something for me. And I don't know if you would necessarily call that provocation, but using things like that can be useful. And in my mind, though, that falls under the same category as a trigger object. And since we're doing a podcast for the newer paranormal investigator here, trigger object is using something that might be important to a spirit in the area that would basically cause a bigger emotional response. So having an older employee to a place like that, he's basically a trigger object. I'm trying so hard not to look at chat right now. So here's the deal. I'm just gonna do the rest of this podcast with my shirt off. You're welcome, Kelly. I don't know if that necessarily falls into the category of provocation. I think that's more of a trigger object. So yeah, I don't believe in provocation. I don't believe in come fight me in the dark, bro. And if you are going to have a altercation, I suppose we'll phrase it, with a spirit, make sure you know who and what you're actually dealing with. And yes, I know you can't see me on Spreaker, which is exactly why I feel confident doing this podcast shirtless. We never got to number 6. And this is super important, and I have an actual anecdote to... Yes, he's actually channeling inner douchebaggins right now. I'm trying to bring the people in psychically, which I don't think is working. So I'm trying to do it physically, which I also don't think is working. So always have permission to go into the locations you go into. The days of the trespassing paranormal investigator are over, people. We're done. Quit. Stop freaking trespassing. And the reasons are important on so many different levels. So, you're not being properly respectful of location if you're willing to trespass on it. You're not being respectful of the owners if you're going to trespass on this. And I actually have a fantastic story of why you shouldn't do this. And hang on. Hear that pause? I had to send Kelly pictures. So we're gonna backtrack. We're gonna backtrack just a little bit to back when Chris was young and dumb, super green paranormal investigator. I just turned 18, and my brother's like, "Hey, I hear there's this old haunted penitentiary outside of a town that I will not mention for fear of people trying to trespass there as well." And naturally, I'm a bit of an idiot, so I'm like, heck yeah, let's go check this place out. So we pull up to this penitentiary, and we're maybe a quarter mile away from it. We had to park on a gravel road somewhere. We get out of the car, we hop a standard, like in chat, we're all Midwesterners. We know what we're talking about when I say just like a barn gate. It's for those of you who might not be familiar with agriculture, it's basically 3 metal bars held together on both sides that kind of swing open, close. We hop that. We walk maybe a quarter mile. We step over a log chain gate. We come up to a bridge. On this bridge, there is a chain link fence, and we are prepared to ascend. We are ready to go up. We are ready to break into this penitentiary. Me having no idea what I'm doing right now is trespassing on federal property. I just turned 18. I am about halfway up this fence, and my brother and I both heard this blood-curdling scream come from the other side of the fence. At that point, I realized, oh my God, I'm trespassing on federal property, and I need to get the hell out of there. So me and my brother, we both drop, we turn, we run, we get off the bridge safe and sound. What we forgot was the log chain gate that's at between us and the normal gate. We hit that going full sprint. My brother had serious road rash and a hyperextended knee. I separated my shoulder and had deep bruising on my rib cage. So what have we learned? What have we learned from this experience? Don't trespass is what we learned. Also, be aware of your surroundings, which actually leads me to my next point, which is get to know the location in the daylight. It is very important. There are, when everybody thinks of the dangers, and you can't see me right now, but I'm doing air quotes. When people think of the dangers of paranormal investigations, they think of the psychic stuff, the possessions and the attachments and all that other scary shit. Plenty of investigators have actually died from the physical world around us. So I feel like it's very important to get to know these places. For example, the Viola Schoolhouse, which is no longer in existence, but it had floorboards that you could fall through. Things like that, where it's just very important to get to know your surroundings when you're not exploring them in the dark. It's just as important to take care of yourself physically as it is psychically. Number 7, and again, this is in no particular order, and don't expect what you see on the shows to be what it's really like. And again, I feel like most paranormal investigators, especially the ones in chat right now, you can attest to this, it's absolutely nothing like the TV shows. We're not all badasses fighting Satan in the dark. We are, on occasion, falling asleep. We are talking to the open air for hours on end, sometimes with little to no results. And basically what you're watching when you watch the TV shows is the accumulation of, at the very least, an entire night's worth of investigating. You're watching the accumulation of 2 or 3 days at a haunted location, and you're seeing basically the highlight reel. And that's that's good shit. That's good TV. I love it. If you're going to go out and actually do this, though, it is not that. And I would never discourage anybody from getting into the paranormal field. It's my favorite thing ever. It's taken me so many cool places. It's had me meet so many cool people. I wouldn't be where I am today, like physically, without this, because the paranormal fields would led me to Kelly. But it's not what it's like it's not what it's like on TV at all. Which leads me to number 8. I said don't be expecting to be fighting Satan in the dark, because, and I'm going to let everybody in on a little secret, it's not all evil. You can hear heads exploding. off in the distance. I can hear it now as we speak. It's not all evil. It's not all this malevolent BS. That happens on TV because it is sexy. It is very cool to have a burly man go out in the dark, fight the devil, and win because he didn't die in some way. Whether that be physically, emotionally. Yes, Darren, except for dolls. Though that evil is out there, you will find it. And I'm going to throw mannequins in that category because I was recently at the Granger house and thoroughly pissed off Dora because the fuck word was said several times out of response to the mannequins. Yes, mannequins and dolls are evil, and they are real, and they are out there, and they are a consistent theme in the paranormal investigator's life because we end up at places like museums, which are super cool historically, but not cool to explore at nighttime when them soulless bastards are hanging around every conceivable corner. And I absolutely derailed there. It's not all bad. The painting things black and being angry and negative and tragic, it makes for quality entertainment. What it doesn't make for is the truth. And the truth of the matter is that we're not going to the devil's nest. We're going into somebody's home. We're going to where they lived. Not where they died, but where they lived. And we're going into someone's house and we're getting just a little bitty taste of what their life was. And that's a super cool thing. And as I mature as a paranormal investigator, I don't get why everything has to be painted black. Because what we do on investigations is cool enough. I don't know why everything's got to be super crazy evil, but it's not. It's not all evil. I know the D word gets thrown around. That demon, that demon word. Kelly and I say it a lot. We've been doing this cumulatively for, I would argue, between 35, 40 years between the two of us, and never a demon. So do with that information what you will. Don't be scared of these places. It's pretty cool. And number 10, everybody. We are 2/3 of the way there, and we're at a half hour. So feel free to drop a question or two into chat. I've got no one to banter with. So, and there's that sniffle again. But I think Kelly's trying to kill me. And number 10, don't go alone. I am not the poster child for this. I have been known to investigate solo plenty, and I still ends up on the list because there are dangers. We talked about it earlier, the inherent danger of the location itself. You could fall through a floorboard and there'd be no one around for miles. You could step wrong, break your ankle, and there would be no one around for miles. You could be in a situation where you could be emotionally, psychically in over your head, and there's no one around for miles. And if you don't see how this is problematic, Darren, I got super close to the mic for that. Sorry, everybody. Try to fix it. And there are ways you can do it solo and still be safe. Do your investigations in the daylight and still in the middle of the night. Keep people notified where you are. But I'm going to stick with the rule and say, don't go alone. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we are entering the bonus section of this podcast. So originally, I told Kelly, hey, we should do 15 things, which I think she just immediately shot off Shay. And I created a list of 10 because it's way easier. But I've got 15 more tips for y'all. So number 11 is when it comes to purchasing new equipment, newer does not equal better. And this is something that's more of the technical stuff for the newer investigators. I think it's easy to get caught up in some of the new stuff coming out. I think it's easy to be attracted to the SLS camera, to be attracted to the newest level of Ovilus, wherever we're at with that situation. But, all these are goodies. They're good. So when it comes to like purchasing a camera, you don't need, and quite frankly, you don't want anything new. You want something older, and the reason for that is that these cameras that we run around with, even the one that is in my pocket, like an iPhone camera, it's a high quality camera, but it's also too smart for its own good. It is ready to take this weird little anomaly that might be something and wipe it out for the sake of a pretty picture. And newer digital recorders do that as well. That sound canceling is, it's cool and it's good for note taking, but we're not taking notes. We're trying to talk to dead people. So the older the recorder, the better. I've got a old reel-to-reel upstairs. I'm actually still waiting to break in. Ooh, yes, Kim. Fantastic point. We're going to step to the last little point in the podcast of Don't Go Alone. Don't go anywhere that you might not have cell service either if you are planning to go alone. On occasion, it's unavoidable. But when you can, avoid the situation where you would fall, break an ankle, and can't call an ambulance. Points 12 and 13 are very similar, and they actually kind of tie well into 14, which is, don't assume that you actually know anything. I don't know if I don't know if anybody's caught on to previous podcast, but I don't know where I stand with EMF. Because, back when it was first being introduced as an idea back in 1996, the only correlation they found was that alarm clock was giving off the EMF and the boy in the room was having the most experiences. I'm falling off here because I've been doing this for quite a while now. I've been doing this for about 12 years, and I can sit here and I can make a 15 tips for new investigators podcast, but I'm still not confident that I actually know anything about this field, because the paranormal field is one of those things where as soon as you think you might have an answer, there's an easy 3 or 4 or 5 other questions that pop up just because you think you're getting close to something that might resemble a fact. And I think facts, like actual facts, are few and far between with this, which is what makes the transition into 13 so easy. There is literally no exceptions, no such thing as a paranormal expert. Because in order to be an expert in something, you actually have to know for a fact that something is something. And I think that's why 12 and 13 tie in so well together, is that we don't actually know anything. So my advice to the newer investigators is that if you come across someone and you are lucky enough to find a paranormal expert, turn around and run as fast as you can in the other direction. No one actually knows anything. So there are no experts. It's all subjective. It's all per our own experiences. And I think that's the important thing when it comes to the paranormal community is that no one actually knows everything, but everybody has a different piece to that little, paranormal puzzle. And with other people's experience and your own experience and someone else's experience, we can slowly start kind of piecing that thing together. I forgot where I was on list 14. And I think this is, and 14 kind of easily ties into this as well. Leave your ego at the door. I don't know if I need to say a whole lot more than that, but yeah, it is. It's important that you're not trying to get caught up in your own thing doing this. So whenever you go into a location, just know it's not about you. It's about the people you're trying to communicate with. Go out and try to understand someone else's perspective. Drop the ego when you're talking paranormal with your fellow investigators, because you don't know anything, they don't know anything, but together you might be able to piece something together just a little bit better. What we're doing is a pseudoscience, and I'm reading chat as I'm going along. If it could be proven, it would be paranormal. And para being beside the normal. It's something that's there. It's within our grasp, but we don't know anything, so we can't, prove anything. But yes, hopping in chat with Mama Pat here. Yes, Kelly did opt out for tonight. She is ill. She's making an active effort not to die upstairs. Is what's happening. So, yes, everybody in chat, if you can wish Kelly well, if you can send out them happy, positive energies, make Kelly feel better, because I don't want to get sick. Also, her happiness is my happiness, and I want to see her happy, and she's not happy when she's sick. All right, everybody, we have stuck around for a whole podcast. I have been talking to myself for the last 45 minutes, and we have hit number 15. So before we actually get into the point 15, if you guys have anything you think is important to add to this conversation, drop it in chat. If you had any questions, I know we had a few earlier that we touched on. I felt like that was pretty cool. If you have any questions, feel free to drop those as well. Yes, Darren, thank you very much. Remember to like and share this episode of the Traveler's Moon podcast. Even though half of Traveler's Moon is here, the support is everything, and we love you for it. So we're going to hit point 15. Don't forget to, if you're listening to the live show, drop the questions, drop things you think that we might have missed with this list, because if we're being completely transparent here, this was all thrown together in the last 24 hours. So there's a very good chance we missed some things. Throw those in chat. We'll touch on them. If there's any questions, throw them in. But here is the numero 15, which I know is not proper Spanish for 15, but I took 3 years and pretty much none of it stuck. It is imperative that this does not get lost on anyone as well. We talked a lot tonight about how what we do is, if there's some depth to it, we're not just, as paranormal investigators, people in black t-shirts running around trying to get our spook on in an old creepy mental asylum. We're not always in a state of trying to help the terrified homeowner with Satan living in, Junior's closet. We are not always in a situation of just, massive, going into places of massive death and sadness. There's some cool places out there. So tip number 15 to the new investigator is have some fucking fun with it. This is so cool. This is so cool what we do. We're going out to these amazing places with such cool history. We're going out and visiting places where hundreds of years ago people passed through and lived their lives, and we get to be just a little bitty piece of that history. We get to appreciate something that doesn't exist in our own time, which is super cool. We get to travel miles with our best friend and visit places that we've talked about for years, and actually go out and see these places and get excited and, cheese like an idiot, despite the fact that, tens of thousands of people have died here. It's very important to have fun with it, because once you do, it starts becoming a job. And I don't know. I've always told myself, the instant this starts turning into a job, I don't want to do it anymore. And up to this point, it's always been fun. It's always been cool and exciting, and being like in content creation, I know sometimes a bit of a grind, but it never wasn't fun. And that's number 15. That is the Traveler's Moon 10. I'm looking at my list. I'm sorry, everybody. I titled it wrong. That is the 15 tips for new investigators by Traveler's Moon. But I'm looking at chat here, and I'm noticing a couple other points getting thrown in there. So Kim Purvis of REP, check them out as well on the old Paranormal Buzz Radio, fantastic podcast. Always try, if you can, to debunk things. And I think that almost falls into the category of scrutiny, and I don't think I touched up on that enough. Most of the time on investigations, there is a rational explanation. That old wiring is why your K2 meter is spiking. The fact that you're in this horribly asbestos-filled attic is why you're seeing these little circles in your photographs that most people call orbs. The fact that somebody sniffled and didn't... God damn it. I sniffled and afraid for my life again. The fact that someone sniffled and you didn't tag it is why you heard that potential quote-unquote EVP. Always, 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 above anything else, be just the most positive skeptic you can be. Go out and want to find a ghost, but know that you might not, and be ready to throw things to the side that aren't doing justice to the paranormal field. Darren Buss hitting us with a twofer here. Don't be afraid to try new things and tactics, which is absolutely fantastic. You got to try everything at least once, because you don't know what's going on. So try it once, some things twice, if it feels good. And to follow up on that, go outside your comfort zone. Again, try some things once, some things twice, if it feels good. But yeah, that is the, looks like the follow-up in chat. Yes, absolutely, Matt. Never date a spirit. They will ghost you eventually. I don't remember when I read this bullshit, but some lady actually got married to a pirate ghost, and the divorce occurred after he stopped replying to her. So yes, never date a spirit. They will ghost you. I'm getting my headphones back on here, just real quick, because it's about that time. We are at the 49-minute mark. Shay has had a very long day, so we're going to make her night nice and brief. And we're going to knock this sign off right out of the park. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the Traveler's Moon podcast. I was your solo host for the night, Chris Nielsen. Catch us any other show, and you'll hear the very lovely voice of one Kelly McCarville, who is the other half of Traveler's Moon, who's under the weather tonight. So wish her well, even though if you're listening to the live show, do that. If you're listening to anything other than the live show, ideally, she got better. we're just going to assume she got better if you're listening to the if you're listening to the pre-recorded show. You can find us anywhere on social media at Traveler's Moon, where if you're not listening to the live podcast, you can find where and when that live podcast is going to be and what it's going to be. And we don't have a next show planned because we don't think that far in advance. But we do have a lot of cool things coming up that we do have planned. So we have a couple of weekends off, which is super strange for us, but it is a huge calm before a storm. So starting in the middle of August, you can find Traveler's Moon anywhere on social media at Traveler's Moon. Be sure to like, subscribe. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else you can hear a podcast, be sure to leave a 5-star review and a little happy face or something in the comments, because we love that. If you want to find Traveler's Moon in person, though, starting August, shit starts getting a little crazy. So on the 13th, Friday the 13th, I don't always but I do. I always on Friday the 13th, you will be able to find us at the Cambry House and Farm for a Paranormal 101 and investigation of probably one of the coolest locations in Illinois, sorry, Ashmore Estates. On the 14th, literally the next night, because we're nuts, we're coming back over to Iowa. We're doing an intuitive retreat at the Mason House Inn. Helps you get in touch with your woo-woo. I would highly recommend it to anybody who has not tried it. And then we're going to be off for about 4 days, and then shit gets absolutely bananas. You're going to be able to find us at the Gettysburg Bash on the weekend of the 19th, 20th, 21st. I'm just looking at my calendar right now. I don't think we're going to be there all those days. But the weekend of the 20th, you're going to be able to find us at the Gettysburg Bash in, it's Gettysburg. Find it on a map, Jesus Christ. Be sure to keep an eye out for live streams of us at the Bash and also afterwards, where we'll be live streaming the historic AF Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. If you don't know what that is, seriously brush up on your history. Somewhere between there and the next weekend, we're going to be live streaming, ideally, from the Mansfield Reformatory. If you don't know what that is, the Ohio State Reformatory, it is one of the most haunted locations in the United States. It's going to be a daytime thing, which is going to be kind of cool. You can actually be able to, see stuff. All my Shawshank Redemption fans out there know what I'm talking about. And then after that, you will be able to find us at the Michigan Paracon in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. Not the Canada, even though we are right on the border, because we plan things like idiots. We plan things to be from very eastern Pennsylvania to basically Canada after that. So absolutely bananas. And then we don't have an official event out for this yet, but it was on the post, so I feel confident in saying it this time. We'll also be doing an investigation with the one and only Dan Class of the Haunted Hinsdale House at the Mason House Inn. This is a steamboat inn in southern Iowa that is older than the state of Iowa itself. You don't want to miss it. Get your tickets as soon as we have them available on September the 11th. And yeah, that's just about it. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the Traveler's Moon podcast. I love all of you sexy beaches in chat. And have a fantastic night. Kelly, get well soon.